Assalamu alaikum. In our previous lecture, we were discussing the concept of e-cash payment system, and if you remember, I told you that the key feature of this payment system is anonymity. That means the identity of the buyer would remain anonymous in this payment system. The identity of the buyer would not be revealed. That is the hallmark, the key feature of this payment mechanism. The currency used in e-cash payment system is coin or e-cash coin. And I told you that an e-cash coin consists of three elements, three parts. That is a serial number. Serial number is randomly generated by the cyber wallet, which is a software installed on the buyer's machine. And then the key version, which is the second element. Key version represents the public key of the e-cash bank regarding different denominations. So there can be a $2 public key, $5 public key. So all these public keys generally represented as key version. These public keys, they are provided by the e-cash bank to the customer when the customer opens his account with the e-cash bank. It's not a secret thing. It is available with the buyer. Then the third element of the coin, which is the serial number signed by the secret or the private key of the e-cash bank. So you can have a $2 coin, $3 coin, $5 coin, etc. signed by the e-cash bank. When you have got these valid coins available with you, then you can spend these coins for payment purposes, and then these coins are passed over to the e-cash bank via the merchant, encrypting these coins with the public key of the e-cash bank, and then e-cash bank using its private key can decrypt these coins and check the validity of such coins. I would like to show you the e-cash payment model diagram. Once again, you can look at the screen. So you can notice that the three participants in this payment system, the customer who has got installed a client wallet, a software on its system, and then the merchant side, merchant would also have a special software installed on its system, and then at the top, the e-cash bank, which is an online organization that would play the key role in this payment system for the transfer of funds in favor of the merchant. The client, first of all, would generate serial numbers in order to mint or create coins. First of all, the client would have its account with the e-cash bank. So from its account with the e-cash bank, it would get certain coins withdrawn from the e-cash bank. It would make a request that I need coins of say $3, $5, etc. And then the e-cash bank would sign the serial number corresponding to such coins and accordingly debit the account of the client, send these coins, these serial numbers to the client wallet. Now these coins, they are valid coins. They can be now spent. They have been now signed by the private key of the e-cash bank. So therefore, we can say that partly these coins, they were minted by the client, by the customer, in the sense that the customer's software generated the serial numbers, and they are partly minted or created by the e-cash bank in the sense that e-cash bank, using the corresponding private key, signed these serial numbers in order to mint the coin, in order to provide a valid coin to the customer, to the client. So in this fashion, the client would have minted these coins would remain stored in the cyber wallet. The client would make certain shopping from the merchant. There would be a payment request, and automatically the client wallet would assemble the coins which were earlier got minted, and then through these coins, the payment would be made. These coins, they would be encrypted with the public key of the eCash bank, and they would be sent to the merchant. Merchant would then send them forward to the eCash bank to check the validity of these coins as to whether these coins have already been spent or not. If the merchant receives the valid indication from the eCash bank that these coins, they are valid, they have not already been spent, then the merchant would send the goods and the merchant would send an acknowledgement of the payment to the customer. So therefore, in this payment system, the anonymity of the customer, the client, is maintained. And I told you that there are two stages in this payment mechanism, that is the minting stage and the deposit stage. The system is based on this notion that we deliberately break the relationship between the customer and his serial number in different ways on both these stages, the minting stage and the deposit stage. So let me explain the concept. It is a little bit intricate but quite interesting. I would like to explain this concept again. You can see on the slide. At the minting stage, the serial number is unknown, but the customer is known to the eCash bank. This means that when the eCash bank signs the serial numbers at the minting stage with its private key of a particular denomination, the eCash bank at that stage knows that this is the particular customer, particular client having his account with the eCash bank who is making a request for the withdrawal, for the minting of the coins. So therefore, say Mr. A, one of the clients of eCash bank, has withdrawn coins of say $10, $2, $3, $5 coins, 3 coins, total of $10 coins. But eCash bank would not know that which serial numbers, which coins has it signed for this particular client, Mr. A. And whether these coins, they would be spent by Mr. A or not, and for which items, for the purchase of which items Mr. A would spend these coins, all this information would remain hidden, would not be known to the eCash bank, because we have deliberately broken the relationship between the serial number and the customer at the minting stage. Remember the blinding factor R, we multiply the serial number with the blinding factor R, and the eCash bank signs these coins while there is a blinding factor R which is multiplied with the serial number, not allowing thus the eCash bank to know the serial number while signing the coin. On the deposit stage, the reverse happens. So on the deposit stage, the serial number would now be known to the eCash bank. When the coins encrypted with the public key of the eCash bank would arrive at the eCash bank, it would, using its private key, decrypt or reveal these serial numbers. At that point, for the first time, the eCash bank would know the serial number which at the minting stage it had earlier signed with its private key. But now at this deposit stage, the client would not be known. eCash bank would not know whether Mr. A, Mr. C, Mr. F, Mr. G, various clients of eCash bank who had made requests for the withdrawal, for the minting of the coins earlier, who amongst these clients has come to make this payment. Okay, the idea is that the eCash bank is only interested, the merchant is only interested in the payment through valid coins. So the validity of the coins would be checked at the deposit stage, and that is it. We are interested in just checking the validity of the coins. We are not interested, we don't concern ourselves as to who has sent these coins, Mr. A, F, G, whatever. So in this fashion, by breaking the relationship between the serial number and the customer at the deposit stage, again, the identity of the customer is hidden. And we say that anonymity has been caused. So with this notion in mind, how the anonymity is achieved, let me discuss with you how the coins are withdrawn, what is the procedure provided for that, how the deposit request is generated and provided to the eCash bank by the merchant, how the credit of lost coins can be obtained. So all these individual items, these individual notions, let us discuss. For the withdrawal of the coins, that is for the signing of the serial numbers in order to have valid coins, the customer can create a covering letter. The customer can create a letter of request, and in that single letter of request, the customer can indicate that he wants to have coins valuing $2, $3, $5, $7, etc. And then the serial numbers in relation to all these different denominations, they would be available, they would be multiplied with the factor R, and the corresponding public key would be used. For $5 coins, there would be E5 mod M, that would represent the public key for $5. So in this fashion, the coins which are to be signed, the serial numbers which are to be signed, they would be passed over to the eCash bank. The eCash bank would see that, well, there is a $5 public key indicated, so therefore it would use its corresponding D5, which is the $5 private key of the eCash bank, in order to sign this serial number. Right? So after signing all such serial numbers, the eCash bank would return these serial numbers. The customer, the client, would divide these serial numbers which are now signed by the corresponding private keys with the factor R, which the blinding factor, which is only known to the client, and thus the third part, the third element of a valid coin is achieved by the customer. The customer then has a valid coin. So you can look at the slide. I have explained this process on this slide. Many coins of different denominations can be obtained in a single request to the bank. The request is signed by the client with his private key and contains information about the serial numbers to be signed. The request is encrypted with a symmetric key, and that symmetric key is encrypted with the public key of the bank. In order to protect the information about these serial numbers, a double encryption is used. You are familiar with this concept, a secure envelope. That is, the request for the withdrawal of the coins, it is encrypted with a symmetric key. That symmetric key then itself is encrypted with the public key of the bank. The bank, using its private key, would obtain the symmetric key, and then with the help of that symmetric key would decrypt the request for the withdrawal. The bank then signs these serial numbers in order to mint the coins of requested denominations, and then forwards them to the client or the buyer. When the buyer, the customer, goes to the merchant shop, he makes a selection of the items that he wants to purchase, then the merchant sends a payment request to the customer that, well, you have made the shopping of certain items and you have to pay me this much amount for this shopping. The cyber wallet automatically then assembles the coins which were already got withdrawn, or they were already got minted by the cyber wallet, and then with the help of these coins the payment is made to the merchant. I can show you on the slide how does a payment request look like. So you can see the payment request, mostly it consists of the currency in which the amount is to be paid, the amount itself, the time stamp, when this payment request, the date and time when it is generated, that is called the time stamp. then merchant's bank ID, which is the merchant's bank, what is its ID, and then merchant's account ID, what is the account ID of the merchant with that eCash bank, and then the order description, that means the items which the customer has ordered for. So in this fashion, the payment request is generated by the merchant to the customer. Ideally, the customer should pay to the merchant exactly, which means that if the customer has done a shopping of say $10, then the cyber wallet should assemble the coins which correspond to $10 exactly in order to pay the amount to the merchant, because in case the merchant has to send some balance amount back to the customer, in that eventuality there exists a slight possibility that the merchant can collude or conspire with the eCash bank, and then the identity, the buying pattern of the customer in certain cases can be revealed, which we do not want, because the anonymity is the key feature of this payment mechanism. Again, I repeat, the payment through coins is done by the customer such that these coins are encrypted with the public key of the bank. These coins are sent to the merchant, and merchant then forwards them further to the eCash bank. The customer can also generate a payment information, again a sort of covering letter, in which the customer would indicate that the customer is sending these coins for payment purposes. In this payment information, the customer can also send the hash of the order description. That means that whatever customer has purchased, applying a hash function, the customer would get a message digest, and that information would be put in the payment information and supplied to the eCash bank. We do not want the order information in text format to be supplied to the eCash bank, because it is not the concern of the eCash bank to know as to what the customer has purchased. Similarly, the customer in this payment information can also add a pair code. The concept is that wherever the customer feels that there can be a possibility somebody else can also come up and claim that this payment has been made by that somebody. So in such an eventuality, in order to prove his payment, the option available with the customer is, the genuine customer is, that he can add a pair code in the payment information. What happens is that the pair code is selected, then the customer applies a hash function on that code. Resultantly, he gets a message digest. This hash and this MD, message digest, they are incorporated in the payment information and delivered to the eCash bank. In case there is some dispute, somebody else also claims that he has made this payment, then the passphrase, the pair code, is supplied to the eCash bank by the genuine customer, and the eCash bank is then asked to apply the same hash on that passphrase, on that code, pair code, and if the same message digest results, which was already provided by the genuine customer to the bank, then that proves the payment by the customer, because only the genuine customer knows that pair code, that passphrase which he had selected. Nobody else should know, is presumably in the knowledge of that passphrase, that code which the customer had used. So just to give you a better idea, I have also created a slide. You can see In this example, say the genuine customer who wants to eliminate the possibility that somebody else also claims the payment, he has selected a passphrase, a pair code, in this example, blue sky. This word is chosen by the customer. Only the customer knows about this information which he has selected. Then the hash function, that one-way mathematical function, is applied on this word blue sky, which results into a message digest. This hash function, when applied on the word blue sky, results into a message digest. Then the hash function and the message digest, they are provided to the eCash bank through the payment information. If a dispute arises about the payment, then the genuine customer can supply this pair code, this passphrase blue sky, to the bank and ask the bank to apply the same hash function which was earlier provided to it and see what message digest comes. So when this hash function is applied on the word blue sky, there comes a message digest. This hash and the message digest are supplied to the eCash bank. In case a dispute arises about the payment, then the customer would provide that passphrase to the bank. The bank would then apply the same hash function on that passphrase and see what message digest appears. In case that message digest is the same as the one which was earlier provided by the customer to the bank, then that proves, that is an evidence that it is a genuine customer, because it is presumed, it is believed that only the genuine customer would know this passphrase blue sky. Nobody else would have any knowledge of it. In case these message digests, they are different, then that would not be a proof of the payment. So that is the concept for the proof of the payment using the hash function and the message digest. Similarly, a payment deposit request can also be generated by the merchant when the coins arrive at the merchant site. The merchant can prepare a covering letter, a deposit request. The merchant can sign that deposit request with its digital signature after encrypting the payment deposit request with the public key of the eCash bank, and then the payment information along with the encrypted coins, that is also attached with this payment deposit request, and then this information, all such information, is supplied to the bank. Bank would decrypt the coins which were encrypted by the customer with the public key of the bank using the private key of the eCash bank, and would come to know about the serial numbers, about the coins. Here I would like to point out that in this particular case, a special pair of public and private key of eCash bank is maintained. This is not the same pair of public-private key which is used for the signature purposes of the coin. So we use a different pair of public-private key for the minting of the coins. Say if there would be a $5 public key and a $5 private key, that would be a different set of key. Here, when the coins are encrypted with the public key of the eCash bank, the eCash bank would have its corresponding special private key. That is not that private key which is associated with the signatures. So using the private key, then the eCash bank would decrypt the serial numbers, and then for the first time eCash bank would come to know those serial numbers which it had earlier signed using its private key at the minting stage. These serial numbers would then be matched with the database of spent coins. Remember that eCash bank maintains a special database in which the serial numbers of all the spent coins, they are recorded. So whenever a new coin arrives before the eCash bank for payment, eCash bank would first of all match that serial number with those serial numbers recorded in that database. So if this new serial number is missing in the database, it means that this is a valid coin. It is not intended for double spending, and this is a valid coin, therefore a valid indication is passed over by the eCash bank to the merchant. On the other hand, if this serial number is recorded in the database of spent coins, then that would mean obviously that this is an invalid coin. Somebody has attempted to again spend this coin. It has already been spent and somebody is trying to spend it again. So he would be caught in this fashion, and a message of invalidity would be generated by the bank and provided to the merchant, and then the merchant would not send the goods to the customer. Then can the customer, the client, get any credit for the lost coins? The answer is yes. So therefore, in case during the transaction your system breaks down, there is some crash of your system, then in that eventuality the credit of the lost coins can be obtained by the customer. I have listed the steps in this regard on the slide. You can look at the slide. In case network fails or computer crashes during payment transactions, then the coins might be lost. All signed blinded coins from last 16 withdrawals are sent by the bank to the client. So therefore, all different coins which were signed blindly by the eCash bank during the last 16 withdrawals, serial number into R raised to power E2 mod M in case of $2 coin, so on. All such expressions relating to various denominations which were available with the eCash bank at the stage of signing. So as regards last 16 withdrawals, all such expressions, they would be provided to the customer by the eCash bank. The customer only knows the blinding factor R. The customer would then divide all these expressions with the blinding factor R and would therefore come to know about the serial numbers. These serial numbers would then be passed to the eCash bank. So you can see, client uses the blinding factor known to its wallet to reveal the serial number. Then it then sends all serial numbers to the bank for its verification whether or not the coins have already been spent. After dividing with R, the client gets serial numbers. These serial numbers are then again sent to the bank. The bank would then check these serial numbers against its database of spent coins. In case in the meanwhile somebody has used these coins, then no credit would be given to the customer. But if these coins are still unspent and they are not listed in the database of the spent coins available with the eCash bank, then the credit can be given to the customer corresponding to the value of such coins, and accordingly the customer's account would be credited. So after checking its database, then the bank credits the client's account with the value of unspent coins. In case we want to use the eCash payment mechanism on the internet, then you can see on the slide how we use this concept on the internet. So on the client side, there are the two softwares installed. You can notice on the left side the web browser and then the client wallet or the cyber wallet. These two softwares, they should be available on the client system on the customer's machine. And on the right side, you can notice that the server side, the system should have the software in relation to a web server. So there should be a web server software, then the merchant's special software which can deal with the e-cash payment requests. So all these two softwares, they are available on the server side. And at the top, you can see the e-cash bank. In step number 1, the web browser would select and order the items which are intended to be bought from the web server from the merchant side. The selection of such order would be made. In step number 2, the merchant wallet starts. The web server would start the merchant's special software which can deal with the e-cash payment requests. Step number 3, the merchant would send a payment request to the client wallet that you have done the shopping, say worth $10, now pay me $10. In step number 4, the coins are assembled by the cyber wallet consequently, and these coins encrypted with the public key of eCash Bank are forwarded to the merchant side. In step number 5, the merchant software would deposit these coins to the eCash Bank and would request to check the validity of these coins by matching the database of spent coins maintained by the eCash Bank. In case these are unspent coins, they are valid, then the indication of acceptance in step number 6 is passed over to the merchant software by the eCash Bank. Step number 7, the merchant software would generate a message, the receipt, the acknowledgement that, well, the payment has been validly made. And in step number 8, the merchant software would indicate to the web server to send the goods to the customer. And in step number 9, the web server would then send a message to the web browser that the goods would be dispatched to you in such and such time. It would also acknowledge that the payment has been made. So this is how the payment through e-coins, e-cash coins can be made on the internet. Again, I would go back to the idea, the concept of anonymity. The anonymity, in all probability, can be maintained using this concept, but there is a possibility that by using the log files, if we are using this mechanism on the internet, then the log files, they contain the IP address of the client side. So using the log file analysis, the information of IP contained in the log files, that information along with the information recorded by the ISPs who have provided services to a customer, so both these pieces of information can be utilized to reveal the identity of the customer. So that would be an uphill task. It's not ordinarily possible, but still a slight possibility, you can say, that would still exist, which can lead to the dilution of the concept of anonymity. Then again a question arises that when the merchant would deliver the goods to the customer on the customer's destination, then again the identity of the customer can then be revealed. The answer is that in order to avoid that, normally the address of a public place is provided by the customer to the merchant for delivery purposes. So there can be the address of a post office. The customer can say that you deliver me the goods on that place, on that public place, the post office, and at my time of convenience, I would myself pick the parcel from there. So instead of providing the information about the destination, where the customer is located, the customer can provide the address of a public place to eliminate the possibility of revealing the identity of the customer. Then the last thing about this payment mechanism is that the interbank exchange of coins is not yet contemplated, is not yet conceived in this payment mechanism, which means that in case you have received certain coins, you have got minted certain coins from a particular e-cash bank where you have got your account as a customer, then you can spend those coins only with the same e-cash bank only which has issued you these coins. You cannot spend these coins to any other e-cash bank, right? But there is a probability that in the future it is quite possible that if you get coins from a particular e-cash bank, you can use those coins with some other e-cash bank. This possibility is not out of question. This can be done. As yet, the interbank exchange of coins, it is not yet there. Okay, this was the main discussion about electronic cash, and I hope that you have got a reasonable degree of concept now. It's a bit complicated model, but I hope that I've repeated a lot. In fact, I mean, in this particular model, I have repeated the ideas again and again, just for you to have a fair degree of understanding. Now, let's talk about another very important payment system which is used online for payment purposes using the internet. That is Secure Socket Layer, or SSL. Okay. Again, SSL aims at payment through credit or debit cards, mainly through credit cards. The hallmark, the key feature about SSL is its simplicity and the use of encryption, right? So SSL is built into the browsers. Many popular browsers, they already have the SSL software, the SSL protocol built into them. You just enable the SSL protocol and then you can send encrypted messages. You can receive encrypted information, right? So I want to show you a slide. SSL is a protocol which was developed by Netscape Communications. SSL is built into many browsers. So Netscape, Navigator, Internet Explorer, both have this option of SSL. It is built into the browsers, and that provides the simplicity of use in relation to SSL. It operates at the TCP/IP layer of the OSI model. It uses a combination of symmetric and asymmetric type of cryptography. Both the symmetric and asymmetric cryptography is used in SSL. In order to connect to an SSL server, a server which can exchange information with you in encrypted form, you have to write your URL starting with the protocol HTTPS. Notice, instead of just simply writing HTTP, you add S after HTTP. So you write https://www.microsoft.com. When I type this URL, that would mean that I want to connect to a server which is SSL enabled, which can exchange information with me in the encrypted format. On the client side, in order to enable SSL, these are the steps you have to take. Say you are using Internet Explorer, then the steps to enable SSL on your system are: you go to the Tools menu, then you opt for Internet Options, then Advanced tab, and then you opt for Security menu, and there you would see certain options listed. You'll also find SSL version 2, SSL version 3, etc. You can tick the corresponding checkbox in order to enable a particular version of SSL. So in this fashion, you can enable your system for SSL-based transactions or encrypted transactions. Okay, SSL supports many different cryptographic algorithms and authentication methods. The combination of cryptographic algorithms and authentication methods is generally referred to as a cipher suite. Okay, the term is cipher suite. When an SSL-enabled client connects to an SSL server by typing a URL in which HTTPS appears, then the SSL handshake begins. The term is SSL handshake. It means that there is an exchange of messages between the client side and the server side. During this exchange of messages called SSL handshake, both the client and the server side, they negotiate and they agree upon a particular cryptographic algorithm and authentication methods and protocols which would be used during the transaction. Right? So in case the client types the HTTPS blah blah blah, the URL, then in a fraction of seconds the exchange of these messages would take place. The client would not be knowing about this. This would be automatically done, and a hello message first of all would be generated by the client side, and the client would tell to the server that, well, these are the different cryptographic algorithms or protocols or authentication methods which I support. The server side would look at those and would try to find out those cryptographic algorithms and the authentication methods or protocols which are common between the two. And out of those, the server would pick that combination of cryptographic algorithm and authentication method or the cipher suite which is the strongest common one between the two sides, the client side and the server side. Therefore, after this agreement on the cipher suite, the server would send its digital certificate to the client side. The certificate would authenticate the public key of the server. On receiving this information, the client would then automatically generate an appropriate symmetric key or a session key. Then that session key, that symmetric key, would be encrypted with the public key of the server which was just received and transmitted to the server. The server then uses its private key and gets hold of the symmetric key or the session key using which the encryption has to take place, the information has to be encrypted. And then the further communication between the client and the server side, that would take place with the help of that session, that symmetric key. So that was the main concept about SSL handshake. So I repeat, using this SSL handshake, the client side and the server side, they establish their agreement upon the cryptographic algorithms, the protocols which are to be used, say SSL2, SSL3, what protocol is to be used, and they also agree upon the authentication methods, say they would authenticate using the digital certificates. So I can elaborate the same concept with the help of a slide also. You can see on the screen. On the left side, you can see the SSL client, the browser. On the right side, there is the SSL server. Both are enabled for SSL transactions. First of all, the client would type the URL with HTTPS, and when the client presses enter after typing that, an exchange of greeting messages would automatically take place, which the client would not have any idea about. And in that, the client would send a hello message to the server and would inform the server about the encryption algorithms, key length, about the authentication methods which it supports. The server responds with the hello message. The server checks that the strongest common cryptographic algorithm between the two sides is this particular one, say IDEA 128-bit. It is the strongest common algorithm between the two sides, so it says that I'm going to agree upon this algorithm IDEA. We'll use this for encryption purposes. Similarly, the protocol, say SSL version 3, is the strongest common between the two sides. Then there is an agreement by the server on this SSL 3. The authentication is to be done through digital certificates. The server would verify that, and then the server would send its certificate to the client. You can notice the server sends the certificate containing its public key to the client. Client would check that certificate. There would be a list of certification authorities recorded, contained in the client machine, and the client side, the browser, would verify the authenticity of that digital certificate. It would see that whether that CA which has issued the certificate to the server, it is a recognized one or not, and then it would also verify the digital signatures of that CA on the digital certificate. So on verifying this digital certificate by the client side, then the client side would generate a secret key, a session key, a symmetric key, and this symmetric key would then be encrypted by the public key of the server and would be delivered to the server side. The client can also send its certificate to the server authenticating client's public key, but that is an optional step. The public key, the certificate of the server, is mandatory in this setup. The sending of the client's certificate may be taken as an optional step. So the point I was making, that the private key, the session key or symmetric key, which is to be used for encryption purposes, that is encrypted with the public key of the server, which was just received by the client, and it is sent to the server. Server thus receives the client response and initiates a session. And all the exchange of information between the two sides, the client side and the server side, thus takes place in an encrypted form using this shared symmetric key. You can notice that there is a communication between the two sides, the SSL client and the SSL server, in a session. So that is all for our today's lecture. We have again reviewed the concept of e-cash payment mechanism, and then we have started our new payment mechanism, new payment system, that is secure socket layer, SSL. And I told you that SSL, its beauty is that it is inbuilt into many browsers, and it can be used very conveniently and very effectively, and we have to enable our client side to enter into SSL based transactions. We'll carry our discussion further in our coming lecture as regards SSL, and we'll also discuss another very useful protocol, secure electronic transactions, or SET. So till then, Allah Hafiz.